A bird's song or a ghost's whisper? Let's find out. Welcome to Narrative Strokes. The first time Emily saw the bird, it was early morning. She had just poured herself a bowl of cereal when a bright flash of blue landed on the feeder outside the kitchen window. The bird was unlike any she had ever seen. Its feathers shimmered like ocean waves, and its eyes were an eerie glassy black. "Mom, look at this bird," she called. Olivia, still half asleep, shuffled into the kitchen. "Pretty," she murmured, glancing at it. Then the bird chirped. It wasn't a normal bird song. It was sharp and uneven, almost like words. A whisper hidden in the notes. Emily froze, spoon halfway to her mouth. "Did you hear that?" she asked. "Hear what?" Olivia replied, already pouring her coffee. The bird cocked its head, staring directly at Emily. Then, with another sharp chirp, it flew away. The bird returned every morning. Each time, its chirps grew stranger. Emily began to notice patterns, repeated notes that sounded too structured to be random. Some sounded almost like names. She started recording them. At night, she played the recordings back, slowing them down, trying to catch the pattern. One evening, as she sat at her desk with her headphones on, she heard it clearly for the first time. A whisper, hidden under the chirps. "Help me." Emily's breath caught. She rewound the clip, heart pounding. This time, she caught something else. A name. Eleanor. Who was Eleanor? She ran downstairs, nearly tripping over her own feet. "Mom, the bird! It's saying something." Olivia frowned. "Emily, not this again." "I'm serious. I recorded it. It's saying, 'Help me, Eleanor.'" For the first time, Olivia hesitated. The color drained from her face. Emily noticed. "Mom, do you know that name?" Olivia swallowed hard. "Go get your coat," she whispered. "We need to talk to Grandma." Emily's grandmother lived only a few blocks away. When they arrived, Olivia wasted no time. "Mom," she said urgently, "does this name Eleanor mean anything to you?" Her grandmother, an elderly woman with soft gray hair, stiffened. Her hands trembled as she set down her teacup. "Where did you hear that name?" she whispered. Emily and Olivia exchanged glances. "The bird," Emily said. Silence filled the room. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, her grandmother spoke. "Eleanor was my sister." Emily gasped. She had never heard of Eleanor before. "She disappeared when we were children," her grandmother continued. "One winter morning, she went outside to feed the birds and never came back." The next morning, the bird returned. This time, its chirps were frantic. It hopped on the feeder, pecking at the window. Emily pressed record, trying to listen. She played the sounds back, adjusting the speed. "Not alone." The whisper sent a shiver down her spine. "Mom, I think there's more." Olivia stared at the bird, her face pale. A cold wind rushed through the house, rattling the windows. The lights flickered. Emily turned back to the recording, hands shaking. The whispers continued. "Still here." A shadow moved outside. The bird let out a piercing cry and flew away. Emily and Olivia turned to the window, but nothing was there. Then, from behind them, A floorboard creaked. They weren't alone, and the bird wasn't coming back to warn them anymore. Emily turned slowly toward the sound behind her. The air in the room had grown heavy, thick with something unseen. Olivia reached for her daughter's hand, gripping it tightly. "Who's there?" Olivia called, her voice shaking. Silence. Then a faint rustling, like the flap of tiny wings. Emily dared to take a step forward. The floorboard groaned again, and suddenly the air grew freezing. A whisper, just like the bird's song, floated through the room. "Eleanor." A shadowy shape formed in the dim light near the corner of the room. It was small, childlike. Emily's breath caught. "Eleanor?" she whispered. The shadow hesitated, then nodded, just once. Emily's grandmother had said Eleanor disappeared while feeding the birds. But what if she had never truly left? What if her spirit had been trapped all this time, unable to move on? "Eleanor," Olivia said, stepping closer. "You don't have to be afraid. We can help you." The shape flickered. Emily felt a deep sadness settle in the room, heavy and cold. Then, slowly, the shadow lifted an arm and pointed to the ground, the old floorboard. With shaky hands, Olivia and Emily knelt down and pried it up. Beneath the wood lay a bundle of faded cloth, something wrapped inside. Olivia hesitated before unwrapping it. As she pulled the fabric away, she gasped. A tiny silver locket. Inside was a faded photograph of two young girls, Eleanor and her sister, Emily's grandmother. As soon as Olivia touched the locket, a warmth spread through the room. The shadow of the girl flickered once, then dissolved into a soft golden glow. A final whisper echoed in Emily's ear. "Thank you." And for the first time in decades, the house felt lighter, like a long-held secret had finally been set free. Eleanor moved on, and the bird would never return. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed it, then comment down below and let me know what you think. I'll see you next time with another story. Until then, keep smiling and don't forget to like and subscribe.